Welcome everybody. It's Max from Paper Gold and Common Ground Finds, and this is not a destination unknown video. This is going to be a video with talking about white t-shirts. We all got the white t-shirt memo today. Now, I will be talking to Resell Maven, Amanda from, you should all know her from Whatnot. I reached out to her. She has a top-notch Whatnot program, Whatnot book show, and I wanted to bring some great information for booksellers out there, new, or maybe you've started in Whatnot for a year and you're struggling. But I think between Amanda and I, we probably hacked the entire platform, and I wanted to have a one-on-one with her and talk about that with everybody. So I know a little bit of Amanda's backstory, but I'm going to replay a little bit for us. I know you got heavy into this during COVID or prior to COVID. What were you doing prior to this Whatnot craziness, and how did you dive into it?
So, I actually did start 2020. It was the end of 2020, maybe around the beginning of the school year. And so things were still kind of shut down. We were doing remote schooling. So I kind of fell into it luckily at that time. But prior to that, I was actually on furlough for my job. I worked at a indoor water park hotel. And so people might be familiar with it, Great Wolf Lodge, if anyone's
Okay.
familiar. And it was the best job I've ever had in my life. I had it very sweet, very cushy. So I was a bartender slash supervisor for the food and beverage department. And we had an outdoor bar that I was the supervisor of and I ran as well as bartended. So I had a nice salary, like hourly wage and tips. And so I was living my best life, making the most money I'd ever made. I had started my whole entire career outside of one retail job in the food and beverage industry. So since 18, I was serving and then slowly got into bartending, worked my way through a variety of different restaurants. And I loved it. I loved my job. I honestly would still be doing it today if I hadn't fallen into this. I still think about going back from time to time, but I probably won't ever do that. But that's what I did. I was food and beverage. I was service industry, serving and bartending my way across the area. And I had been at Great Wolf for about 4 years and I loved it. And I started when the pandemic happened. I gathered a few books around my house and a few other items, listed them on Facebook Marketplace. Everything kind of sold, but the books, do you have more? Where are they? You have any others? And I said, yeah, some
Wait,
more.
wait a
But then that,
second. Wait a second. I got to pause you on this. Where did you have the idea that books would be even
I don't know.
money, or not that it would turn into what it's turned into, but for
Yeah.
you to put books on Facebook Marketplace, you had to have did you have an inkling that they would sell, or was this, hey, I want to spring clean the house?
It was a clean the house. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think I had purchased some books from somebody on Facebook, but there was books in there that weren't at my kids' reading level or my interest. And so I think there were a lot of they were like phonics based, leveled readers, like kind of those thin things that a lot of people think this is trash. And I was like, oh, I don't, my kids are past that age. So I had put them as a lot. And I think I put like $5 or $6 on it for like a probably like 20 books, that were just trash to me. And someone grabbed them almost immediately and like six other messages of like, I can commit these right now. And so it just immediately was like, oh, okay, listed a few other items, everything sells. And so then I had gotten some more of the books that I had lying around that we didn't need since they were selling and I was making money off of it, and listed them, and they also sold. And the main thing that people were asking me was just like, can I come shop? Do you have more? Can I come see what you have? Like, I was just like,
Instantly, they were asking this.
yeah, so I thought it was just a fluke, but what it really turned out to be, I think, is that the schools were closed, libraries were closed, public facilities weren't open. There was really no access to like reading outside of what you're getting shipped to your door on Amazon. And Amazon doesn't do custom bundles of books for age ranges. Like here's a whole bunch of books your 3-year-old would love. That's not really
So,
a service.
so I'm watching your facial expressions as you tell this story. So I'm trying to read into this a little bit. I feel like the light still didn't turn on
No,
yet, though. I mean, you make a listing, and now you know this. If you make a listing on eBay and it sells within 2 hours, your automatic thought is great, but did I price it too low? So
yes.
you're selling books instantly on Facebook Marketplace,
Yeah.
and the light still hasn't clicked. Like I'm
Because
on
I'm
the
just selling stuff. It was just like, it's just things that
oh,
people want. Like it's a market for it. What else are we going to do? We're all at
right.
home alone and bored.
Okay.
We're still in the thick of it, you know? So and I was making unemployment because I was furloughed from my job. So the money wasn't even the thing. It was like, oh, it's crap laying around my house. I was tired of looking at, which is just the best way to get started. Just side note, please start with the stuff around your house because it's
Yes.
free. So yeah, and then I ended up getting one gentleman. He was kind of a repeat buyer. So what ended up happening was I had found some books. I had somewhere, I don't know how I found books, but I had started finding more books. I don't know if I was doing free pickups or if I don't know what I was doing, but not shortly after that, our thrift stores opened back up, and I found out that we had a Goodwill outlet. I didn't know prior to
Okay.
that time that there was an outlet thing. I didn't know what outlets were. I didn't know what the bins were. And I went and they had books lying in bins, a whole bunch of different types of books, and they were really cheap.
Did your jaw just drop instantly when you
Yeah,
walked
I
in?
was like, oh, this is cool. There's clothing and hard goods. And so, of course, I was a kid in a candy store,
Yeah.
just like wandering around, like looking at clothes for the first time. We had also been in lockdown. Like, I hadn't been other to the grocery store, I hadn't been in a store really. So, yeah, no, it was great. And then it instantly was like, there was this one customer who was just like he would bring me candy bars for the kids. He'd be like, thank you so much. Like he was so grateful because he was giving his granddaughter all of these amazing books.
Mhm.
So I was just like, okay, this is the thing. And I just started buying books, and I would buy books that I just thought would sell, but I would be buying them under the assumption I'd be making lots. So I would lot them up by genre and age range. So it would be a bundle of, 15 girl themed chapter books for ages 8 to 12. And it was like $10, but I had spent $2 on the bundle, or whatever it was. So the margins weren't excellent, but they were good enough, and it was just extra money. And soon enough,
The margins were good enough for the light to turn on and for you to
yeah,
say, wow, they're dumping
yeah,
gaylords of books in the blue bins and they're allowing me to cherry pick whatever I want.
and I can just leave behind the stuff I don't want, and then go home and list it, and people will buy it like the same day.
So, were you still, how long were you doing Facebook Marketplace with that method of just going to the bins during lockdown and putting stuff on Facebook Marketplace?
I would say for about 6 months.
I'm guessing your mindset started changing somewhere in that 6 month period.
Yeah, so I had dabbled in eBay a little bit around that time. Okay. So once I figured out that this was a feasible thing where it was like I didn't need it to live, but it was providing me extra money, and I just genuinely enjoyed it. Like I don't know what it was. I liked playing with the books. I liked flipping through them. I liked the hunt. I just liked the focus of it, and I've always been a book lover, so it was very easy. I I had found somebody on YouTube. I probably came across Rakin or Reezy or someone, I don't know who, but I came across a few different people who exposed me to the idea of like a bigger business model of reselling. Now, this is what's going to make you like laugh. My mom's a reseller. She's been a reseller for ever. I didn't think about it that way. I was a bartender. I was a server. This is my job. And I made really good money. So I never needed to think about it, getting another job. So that was what was so funny about it is once it kind of all clicked, I started talking to my mom. She was like, yeah, like that's what we do. We go to yard sales and we buy stuff and then we sell it online for more money.
So wait, you never knew your mom on Saturday mornings was yard sailing?
No, I did. I don't know. I think I made so much money doing what I
Right.
did.
You were clouded by the other job that it,
It's like being a lawyer and like,
right.
yeah, of course you didn't think about you can also still make really good money doing this other thing. You were just at a level where you were happy. You had all the money you needed, bills were paid, there was no stress and worries. And then I threw all that away to do this.
But look at you smiling about it. You love it.
Love it. I
I
love
mean,
it.
I mean, you got thrown a curveball in life.
Yeah.
You didn't see this coming from out of anywhere. So let me get to the epiphany then. At what point was it a day when you were just shipping 40 lots of books? Like what point did you say, all right, I need to start rethinking about the life I'm living and where this is taking me, because it happened to me, so I know it happened to
Yeah.
you.
I had a point where our living room was legitimately covered in stacks of books.
Okay.
And my very supportive and loving boyfriend said, you need to go find a place to put all of these books because they can no longer be in our house with a smile. Like, I love you, but we're done here. So that was really it. And I thought, well, if he thinks I should even do something like that,
Right.
like, is that a sign that maybe I was just delusional? I was just doing something I liked doing. I thought it was really fun. And I loved having people send me pictures of like their kids reading these books, like she's in heaven, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I did that. So I thought, okay, if that's what he's thinking, then this is something bigger than what I'm thinking. And at that time, I had been really diving into eBay more, and I was putting up more valuable lots, like homeschool curriculum
Sure.
lots, things I'd come across like that, or just things that were bigger sets. Like I would eventually get to a point where I have an entire set of Babysitters Club, and I could list that, or I'd get to a point where I'd have close to an entire set of Nancy Drew or whatever it was, and I would list these big lots, and I'd get these $100 sales on these larger lots. And so it just kind of
Everybody
started
listen
dawning
up.
on.
Everybody listen up. Listen to this. She's giving you the blueprint. She's giving you the blueprint.
It really was the path. And so I learned that there was a lot of different ways. And then I learned about like Stephen King, and that I could sell a Stephen King book for $20 or $30 depending on the book. And I remember very distinctly the conversation of what is a first edition and how do you discover that? That was a whole thing. So I was like slowly becoming just really ingrained in the process. I had gotten my first like thermal label printer. That was a big step of not taping labels onto
Right.
things.
Right.
So it just like, and I was selling locally on Facebook, but I was shipping. That was a huge part of it. So I didn't just have books, but I had boxes and packing paper and crap in our living room. It was not ideal. So fast forward to about February 2021, I said, okay, let me go look for some spaces. Out of the sure luck of the universe, I literally posted on Facebook something along the lines of looking for an affordable office space. If anyone knows anything, this is roughly my budget. I think I said my budget was like $400 or $500. Let me know. I get the most random tag from somebody who I don't really super know. I don't think I knew her really at all. She tags. That's all she does is a tag of some other person who then messages me and goes, hey, you're looking for an office space? I have one. She tells me where it is. It is, I'm not joking you, 3 minutes from my house. Perfect location. I go, perfect, everything. I mean, it's 2 rooms. It's incredible. I have a shipping space. I have an office space. It's perfect. And it was COVID still, 2021. So it's cheap and available, and I took it, and it's been about 3 years now, and I love it.
So where did the point in time come when you said, I mean, I know it was COVID, but you were leaving this other job that you were furloughed from
Yeah.
to take this leap? Because this is still an unknown leap for you. You're selling books, you're doing eBay, you're doing Facebook Marketplace. But even for me, when I was teaching, I knew my life was going to be different the day I retired from teaching and was going to do this full time. I know things were going to feel different that I couldn't think about yet until it happened. So
Yeah.
when did that point in time come for you to say goodbye to the old life and into the mystery of the new life?
Yeah. So when I really think about the timeline, I really probably started selling my first things in closer to June or July because we actually got off of furlough. It was pushing it back like every single month. And we were getting off around, I want to say it was around September because it was like school was kind of starting and they were just like, okay, we're going to resume to this new normal, but we're going to be remote everything. Right. So around that time, they had unfurloughed us. Well, I didn't really think much of it because I was a student. I graduated a couple years ago, and I thought, well, every August I would take usually August to almost October off
Mhm.
because September is the slowest time of the year for that business anyway. So wasn't missing anything, and I could focus on school, getting my first, month of the semester under my belt and getting the hang of things. So I called the office and I said my job, and I said, hey, I just wanted to like make sure we're good to go. Like I'm going to be furloughed, or I'm going to be off until October, but of course I'll come back like usual. Normal conversation I've had 3 times. This is going to be the fourth time having it. And my very, very close personal person who I've had a good relationship with, manager, goes, well, actually, since you didn't come back last 2 weeks ago when we were bringing everyone back on, you can reapply.
Mm.
Deuces. Have a nice life. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for not even letting me know that I just basically haven't even had a job for the last couple
Right.
weeks. But no, I'm not interested. And I just so then that was, it was about probably a month or so of me kind of dipping my toe and really kind of understanding what I was doing. And then it was very shortly after that I was just like, okay, this is it. And I still was able to take unemployment for another maybe 4 or 5 months, right up into that point where I was getting my office. I think it ended at the beginning of 2022-ish was roughly when unemployment ended. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. And then that was like, okay, that's it. So I'm responsible for everything. And it was hard and it was a reality shock. And that government money was no joke. It really helped build my business, but then it was up to me to do it from there. And it was challenging for sure.
When you look back at that whirlwind, I'm sure a lot of it is a blur,
Yeah.
but were there any points in time that you can remember you weren't sure of yourself? Because the people who watch this video, they know probably who we are now. They see
Yeah.
what we do now. I want them to get the real face of what it's like to transition, because in my
Yeah.
paper road group, we have a lot of part-time sellers who are on the verge of being full-time. And so we're very close to getting them there. And I just want them to understand that there's this emotional mystery that you carry with you from one life to the other.
Mhm. Yeah, it
So do you
is.
remember anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being really honest, it's really only been the last 4 or 5, 6 months, really since the beginning of this year, that I've actually got my real crap together. So if I'm being honest, I mean, it still took 2 or 3 years of just
Right.
tumbling through it and
Mhm.
stumbling my way through the obstacles and learning when to pivot and all of that. But I think there's a lot of moments that that's what I said at the beginning. I've thought about going back to
Right.
serving. There was so much stability in that. And when I look back at how much better of a server I could be now than I was 5, 6 years ago, I know I'd be even better. So it's like, I have to be blatantly honest because I
Mhm.
think it's really important to acknowledge privilege when you have it. I have privilege of having a really strong family support system where it's always been me and my mom against the world. And my mom has done very well for herself. And I always have to give her props because she absolutely deserves every single one of
Well,
them.
she's a reseller. Of course, she's doing well.
She is. But she, between that and failed businesses and successful businesses, and then learning what works and then doing that over and over and over again, she's built a lot of stability in her life. And so I did have a lot of luxury and privilege to fall back on when times were tough, that I did have somebody to say, you can't pay your rent this month, let me help you. I would not be where I am today without having someone who at least was not just sometimes financially there, but very emotionally like, you've got this. It gets hard. Yeah, sometimes things don't
Right.
sell. Okay, try this. Somebody who was just able to kind of help me through it. So at least emotionally and financially, I felt very comfortable. So I have to say that because I do think it's important that we don't glamorize
Right.
the struggle without acknowledging that there was a lot of people sometimes to help us along the way.
Right. And also I would say this to add on to that, in a 7-day business week or a 30-day month of business, a lot of days are just putting out fires for at least 2 hours.
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
A
whether it's a
100%.
shipping issue, a USPS issue, or a customer issue, there's always something you have to put a fire out on every day. But that also, I think, strengthens us internally to
You
keep
have
pushing.
to put
Yeah,
the fires out if you want
yeah,
to be the fireman.
yeah.
You cannot have a business without understanding it. For example, just right before we went live, I was sending out return labels to 2 people whose orders I mixed up in a live show, as well as a $10 credit each. So it was a $30 total sunk cost on
How
this
dare how
entire.
dare you? How dare you?
How dare I prioritize customer service? But sometimes that's the
Yeah,
fire. It's being the person that has to eat it and go,
right.
dang, okay, well, there's all my profit, but it's worth it for what you're doing in the long run. You're building
Because
something.
you lucidly understand the bigger picture of the
Yeah,
business. It's not about the one book, it's not about the one sale, it's not about the one customer. It's about the growth and where you're going.
So the minute you start hyper focusing on all of those little things that start happening, you get a return request, somebody sends you a weird message and you don't know how to respond, or lowball offers, or you drop your entire cart of inventory in a puddle when it's pouring down rain and all your books fall into the water and you lose about $50 worth of
Okay,
inventory you just
this
purchased.
is an
You know,
inside scoop for everybody.
just
If you're getting a
things
muddy
happen.
book, she's admitting it now.
It happens. And so you can't like hyper fixate and then make it the only thing that, is happening to you that day. It's the smaller pieces of the big picture. So yes, there are definitely struggles. There was times for sure that I was just very clearly not cut out for this. It's not for me. I know how to sell some stuff, but I'm never going to be a successful like business person. And then that frustration would turn into motivation. I would do something and then I would be like, oh, 3 days later, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. And then, a week later, the same thing happens. And then I'm like, well, here's the solution. I would implement it. And then it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal. And then I did that for 4 years. And now here I am able to say, okay, well, it was sometimes just pivoting when I needed to. And you don't quit. I mean, I think a big thing, this is a really popular, I feel like, quote or statistic. I just think it's a good reminder, which is the concept of like, what is it like? Most businesses fail within the first, couple years, but it takes a few years to even happen. You're not failing in 6 months, you're failing 3 years in. You tried and then you fail. So take the 3 or 4 or 5 years to build it. And if after 5 years, 5 years, think about how long you've been doing this right now, and then add whatever you need to add to make it 5 years. And then if you're not where you need to be, then you really need to take a step, like 7 steps back and really analyze everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Give
But
it some time.
you make a great point, and I want to make sure we highlight this a little bit. Questioning yourself is a normal part of the process. I think for me, when I would question myself, what I learned from that philosophically is that's just you as a reseller, me as a bookseller, smoothing out the edges of my lack of experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me having to turn a left or a right when I was just going straight.
Yep.
And I think that questioning ourselves is all part of the process of becoming great at what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure between you and I both, we probably question ourselves 1,000 times.
Yeah. I don't think you're not human if you don't question yourself from time to time, but you're definitely not a reseller if you're not thinking of other things and what you're kind of your biggest critic. What am I doing wrong? And sometimes it's not even that you're doing something wrong. It's just maybe you need to do something a little bit differently.
Right. And now the point I'm at now, and I'm sure you're at this now. All I ever tell people is there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube and Instagram complaining about certain platforms like eBay or Amazon, and they may not even be booksellers. They're just resellers. Maybe they're selling clothes or Funko Pops or whatever. I try to urge everybody to learn and get into the book business because there's no better ROI. There's no better of return of investment
So true.
of going to the bins or going to a flea market or going to the thrift stores and buying books for $1 or cheaper and knowing what you can resell these for. I urge people who are struggling on eBay and Amazon who aren't doing books to at least give books a go. You don't have to give it a year, but give it 3 to 6 months, a little bit, and just see what the profit margin is on books once you discover what books to find.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not well versed on Amazon. That's another thing. There's so much to the story I left out, but I actually started with Amazon. When I was doing that little few months period where I was doing Facebook, I was learning about eBay, which I'd already known about and had sold on eBay in the past. So I was doing that, but I was learning about Amazon FBA, and I actually did Amazon FBA. I sent boxes in, I did the whole shebang. Wasn't for me. I decided not to do it. But the point is that I think it's so much harder to sell almost anything else on Amazon than it might be to sell books. And I think a big reason for that, there's 2 reasons. One, reminder where Amazon started, books.
Yeah.
That's what the platform was literally like designed and built for, because there was a vision of there are readers out there. Books have been around for longer than you can even understand. So trying to sell toys or, retail arbitrage items or clothing or whatever it is, I think on almost any platform, it is a lot more saturated than I think books are. And I think there's a reason why you have to urge people to do it, because it's not, you
Right.
don't see it naturally.
But they're
Books
also afraid of, they'll say, oh, I don't know anything about books. But you can
have to
learn
know
about
anything.
books the same way you learn about the different labels of Levi jeans.
Yeah. The
It's
same
all
way you
out
learn the
there.
colors and
Right.
the alphabet. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. You just watch a few videos on it. We have YouTube, just in case. I know we're on YouTube, but like just in
Yeah.
case you didn't know, there's this YouTube University. It's free. Just type in
Well,
some
I
words and
know.
watch some videos.
And what I tell a lot of people is I say, just go on eBay, just go to the search engine and type the word book, not books, just type the word book in the search engine, click on sold,
Mm-hmm.
and see what a book sells for every day on Amazon. Just scroll down and watch the 5,000, 6,000 books that sold on eBay today
Yeah.
and see what the different prices are, see what the different subjects are. And if you do that little bit of homework 5 minutes a day, you're going to increase your knowledge 100% within 30 days.
Yeah.
Just by typing in the word book and sold.
There's a lot of learning involved. I think don't discount that. Take
Yeah.
the time, take 5 minutes.
Right.
And also keep in mind when you are doing those types of researching, that you're going to see a lot of books that are selling for $4.38 free shipping. And you're going to wonder, how in the hell are they doing that? Well, you don't need to worry about how they're doing that. There's a whole business model for that. And that's not what you're in there to do. So that stock photo with free shipping is not your competition. So
Right.
don't worry about that.
Great
Worry
point.
about setting a better standard.
Mhm.
You can put one real photo that actually showcases the book, and you have a higher chance of getting purchased at $1 or $2 more with appropriate cost and margins and shipping than that stock photo. So don't worry
Sound
about
just
those.
like me. You sound just like me now. Yeah,
This is
that's
so
not your
true.
competition. If you
Not
want
your
to sell
competition.
books, if you want your ASP to be $20 or $25 and higher, then just focus on those books and see
Yeah.
what they look like. That's
Yeah.
all. It's
You
it's,
build
it's
your business model, not someone else. Don't base your model off of what somebody else does. Make it, you can be inspired and have good ideas and inspiration or motivation, but build it off of what works for you and what works in your area. Not everyone has an outlet in their area, but most people, unless you are in the ruralest of rural areas, and you're not willing to travel a little bit out, you have something. A mom and pop, you have
right.
a Goodwill, you have a Salvation, you have estate sales, you have yard sales. You can, you and I preach this both, the business card, just give yourself
Oh,
something. It doesn't have to be what somebody else is offering you. What can you offer someone else? They need to know you exist. So
yeah.
you can do it. It's
Free
out there.
pickup. Free pickups are huge in our business. Free pickups are huge.
Yep.
All right. So
And
let
that's
me.
like I said, I
Yep.
think that's how I got started. I think I got a free book box of stuff and I just sold off the things I didn't want. And that
My,
is literally the
my
beginning.
favorite part of this story so far is just the curveball that you did not see coming, and now
No.
we look at you. Now we
Yeah.
see it on every time I go on Whatnot. There she is. She's selling.
I couldn't imagine
she's
not
got
having this
45
life.
people in a room.
Yeah.
It's
It's kind
amazing
of
to me.
crazy.
So let me ask you this then. Now let's move forward a little bit biographically. Where did Whatnot come from for you? Because I know for me, a friend of mine, we probably both know her, Katie Reeds.
Yeah.
She's the one who forcefully, gently pushed
I
me into
love that she did
Whatnot.
that for you.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I'm indebted to her for that.
for
But
sure.
what was the move for you?
Yeah, so I at that point had been very grossed in YouTube. Again, I will highly recommend YouTube for everyone. Just find your people, find the person that you like, the way they give the information to you. And I found my people and they were giving me information every day. That's what I consumed. I literally was all about reselling and growth and understanding the business. And I heard I believe it was probably Kevin Commonwealth Picker talking about Whatnot. Someone mentioned
Another
Whatnot.
former high school teacher.
I I have a type. I like educated people. I like to talk with people who have not just a good understanding of life, but are natural born teachers. And I've always been told and have always felt as though I'm a natural born teacher. That's where I started my education. I was in early childhood education and I switched out about it 6 months in. I just realized very quickly that that model of teaching, the reason why all of you guys left, is not going to be for me. But I love to teach. So I'm very attracted to people who are naturally interested in just giving value out. So yeah, another former teacher, and I think he had mentioned Whatnot, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm a I like to try stuff. So I think I applied and I didn't get approved. It took like a week or two and I hadn't heard anything. So I just was like, well, I'm going to find a solution around this. I have another email address. I'll just use a different email address. And I applied with that email address and I actually ended up getting approved. I had to put some stuff in there. Like I was like, here's things. I have stuff to sell. And they were like, okay, cool. You're good to go. So they approved me. And that was probably, I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary. And I believe I signed up in like April-ish. And I think my first show was around April or May, maybe June. So it's been 2 years.
So, okay. So what was your first show like? Let's yeah, I know. Let's
Yeah, I
let's
have
get into
interesting
that.
whatnot history. I
Yeah,
actually didn't start in books,
right.
so
Okay, so let's get into your first show and let's get into what first what was whatnot like 2 years ago? Because I've
yeah.
only been on it not even a year now. So what was it like 2 years ago?
It was the wild, wild west. It reminded me a lot of Facebook. There was a lot of like, here you go, you have access to a live platform and people, and we're gonna all figure out the rules as we go. And so it was a lot of fun. So when I started, I thought, okay, I have junk, like I said, and I'm just going to sell it. That was still my mentality, was like using it as a platform to move stuff. So I had dabbled in toys. Thank you, Raken Profit and your toy friend, for getting me sucked into the toy world. I had toys everywhere because I was obsessed. I deal in nostalgia. That's my main thing. I'm a millennial, so anything nostalgic is my jam. And I had this whole bookshelf over here was just full of toys. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do toys, random things, plush. And I had just gone out yard selling and had gotten like a really cheap Xbox 360 with some games. And I said, this will be a fun thing. And so I was like, at the end of the show, I'm going to run this Xbox 360 console. So that's what my first show was. It was a variety of items. It was random stuff. And I think I made like, after fees, I think I made like $50, $40, 50.
But you were probably excited about that for one show, your first
I was.
show.
It was fun too. I liked, like, there was people that popped in and they were like, do you have this? Do you have that? Oh, what can you show me this? And I think I was naturally fairly good at like running a show. I'm a very organized type A personality, very controlling. So I like to make things exactly what they are. And I think I made it a fun little experience. And yeah, I came out profitable after shipping. I mean, it was a pain in the butt. I was like, oh, this is hard. This is a bunch of random stuff. And so after that show, my next shows were actually in the Disney category. So you're from Florida. Give
Yeah.
me a pin hookup. That's what I really need. I need a
You
Disney
want a
pin
Disney
hookup
pin
right now.
hookup?
I
Okay.
really need a Disney pin hookup. That is my love. I grew so much and I just am looking over here at my little thing, my ears and stuff. Disney, it almost makes me want to cry. Is just where I got my roots and whatnot. And I loved it. I loved that community. I loved seeing full-blown adults spend $25 on a single Disney pin.
Right.
And it blew my mind. And then the best part was when I went to go ship, and it took me like 30 minutes to ship a ton of orders. And I was like, whoa, this is incredible. Now, I also learned what fake pens were. I didn't know what that was, scrappers. So I ended up having some issues with that. And that was a good pivoting moment. Nice little email from Whatnot saying, hey, we've gotten multiple requests saying these pins were not real. And I was like, what do you mean they're not real? And I learned very quickly that what that was. And so then I spent a week or two off of Whatnot because I was embarrassed. And I said, oh, I'm never going to be able to sell on here. I'm not going to have a reputation on here. Like that was a bad move. I can't believe I did that. What a noob mistake.
Another moment where you're now questioning yourself.
Yeah. Like I had literally only done 2 or 3 shows and I'd gotten that message. So I was like, oh, I'm blacklisted at this point. And so far from the truth. After everyone picked me back up and was like, shut up, you're fine, get back up and keep going. I was like, okay, yeah. And then and this is my point. I spent weeks watching every single video that I could find about how to tell the difference between real and fake pens. And I became an expert to a point where in shows, I would pull a pen and be like, oh, this is fake. And they're like, wait, how? And I'm like, well, you see this and that and that and that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I would have never noticed that. So long story short, I did Disney. I did everything from Disney. I wish I could insert a video here of what my setups used to look like. We're talking a full table of plush vinyl figures, collectibles, anything Disney related was on this table. And it was so freaking much fun to do that. Um, few shows in, maybe, 2 months, I found books. Oh, books sell on here. Well, this is what I looked like. This was my office. And I had no idea that Whatnot had books.
So yeah, that's a whole different story too.
So then I did a book
Yeah.
show and I started in the book category and there was no one there. We had no shows. We had 2 shows a day. We were lucky.
You were
If you
doing
were
two book shows a day.
No, I'm saying there was like 2 book shows a
Yeah,
day in the book
right.
category. It was
Yeah,
insanity. There was like no one was live. There was no one in the category.
right.
It's like
When I
4
first
of
started
us.
exploring what Whatnot was,
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought it would turn into what it's turned in for me. I mean, I'm doing 6 shows this week. Um, but when I first went on, nobody was selling antiquarian books. They, most of what they were selling in the antiquarian market would have been vintage science fiction paperbacks. So it seemed to be saturated with the paperback market. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to dip my feet in the water here and just see if there's an antiquarian market. And now it's just been nonstop since. It's
And it really has been, like you said, it's been about a year that that
yeah,
market has very much so exploded. There used to be mostly just fiction shows and kids
right,
shows, and then every now and again, and then the sci-fi, which I just don't even look at because it's so outside of my realm. And then I'd see an antique show, and then I'd see another one, and I kept seeing these thumbnails of the books that look like the things that are behind you, and I was just like, who are these people? And I still had like no interest in watching the shows because it wasn't at all anything I needed to be worried from a seller point of view. It wasn't anything I need to be worried about, right? It wasn't competition.
right.
But more importantly, I had no interest in it. So then you guys just started filling the feed. And now look, you guys are all here. And so now we have this amazing community.
Yeah.
There's at any given moment, I'm sure right now, at least 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10 shows on in a variety of different categories. You can get on at any moment and buy a book in any genre.
All
It's
right. So
incredible.
here, yeah, it is. It's wildly successful to me. So here's 2 interesting questions for you. Should eBay be nervous about Whatnot?
I think they already are
They already are, because I feel like there's a lot of people leaving eBay for a myriad of
for a
reasons.
variety of
Some of them
reasons.
are the same, some of them may be just
Yep.
different. But I see that the marketplace for Whatnot is filling up with former or co-joined
Mhm.
resellers.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most sellers, if you're smart, will never fully leave eBay. I don't think that you should remove eBay ever from your thing. I don't think there's really anything eBay could do that would blow my mind at this point. If you've heard enough horror stories, you've heard them. There are some really dumb things that every selling platform can potentially do. And eBay being around for as long as
Mhm.
they have has definitely made their fair share of mistakes. And some things I think are just for a lot of sellers should be almost unforgivable. And I kind of understand wanting to leave the platform for that. But I really, really think that if you're a true reseller, it would be very unwise to remove it completely. However, eBay as a company has a lot of competition right now. I think more than they've ever had. And there's more than just Whatnot.
Yeah,
There's other places that are similar and
right.
do similar things. So, yeah.
And you can't stop technology. So will Macari be copying Whatnot? Etsy, Poshmark, will all of these other
Yeah.
platforms begin copying the success of what Whatnot has done? Because the beautiful thing for me with Whatnot is now I get to now chat and talk with my customer base.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you send a message on eBay, you get the no, 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 you can't do that
Yeah.
on this platform.
Yeah.
Not that you're doing anything wrong. You're just trying to find out what other types of books they may like or something. But
Yeah.
on Whatnot, I know all of my customers. I know what they like. When I'm looking for books, I know, oh, this is a book for, such and such.
Yeah.
And to have that ability to communicate through technology is just, to me, it's groundbreaking and earth-shattering at the same time.
Yeah.
And so where do you see Whatnot in another year or two? Because what I think is going to happen once Whatnot goes international, all hell's going to break loose. It's going to be
Yeah.
it
It's going to
may
be
it may
insane.
rival one of the best platforms out there.
Because I already get orders from Puerto Rico and Guam. I have a
Mhm.
couple of buyers from both of those countries that are territories of the US, so we are able to ship to them. I do get Canadian buyers from time to time, every once in a blue moon, but the shipping to Canada is almost $18 minimum, regardless of what you're buying. So that's a high, steep fee. But the international is going to be, we spoke about this. And when I say that you gave me an inkling to a vision of a future that I had never even thought about. And the pure, I don't know how to even describe the feeling. It wasn't excitement. It was I think it was almost optimism of like anything that you might be thinking and doubting
Right.
about your business model right now. Just imagine when the thing that you love more than anything, which is selling on this one singular platform, does give you the access to the other people of the world at a shipping rate that is reasonable. Let's
Mhm.
include that.
Sure.
That's going to be a game changer. So that's very exciting to think about.
I think
I
it's
don't
going to
think,
be a life changer for thousands, tens of thousands of
yeah,
people. I
life
think
change.
a lot of
Yeah.
people who are in between part-time and full-time or struggling on eBay or Amazon, they may understand what this community of Whatnot is and what it's going to
Mhm.
become. I'm just waiting for that day the wall comes down and Whatnot
Yeah.
figures out international shipping.
Um, so it's a loaded question for me in the sense that I think I actually think that's fairly far in the future. If I was Whatnot, it would be further in the future for a lot of reasons, but I'm not Whatnot and I run my business a lot differently than Whatnot because my biggest gripe with them is the lack of like true structural integrity of their app, the building of it, the
Mhm.
construction of it, the development of it. It's a very challenging thing for them. They either have poor app developers or they have poor people, I think, running the decision making process of what they choose as an important feature or an important inclusion. I think that my biggest frustration and a lot of people I'm around's biggest frustration with Whatnot is simply that. It's just the changing things that don't need to be changed, modifying simple stuff that actually makes the app glitch and causes issues with selling. When you're live selling, when you're on eBay, and you are trying to load up your shipment page and it's not loading. And then you're going to other things and you realize, okay, that website loads. Okay, this is an eBay issue. And you have to wait 5 minutes to
Mhm.
2 hours and it'll load back up and it's fine. Your shipments are still there. It might be inconveniencing to you, but you didn't really like lose money. Maybe people couldn't see things. Maybe you made a sale. Maybe you didn't make sales. Maybe then you didn't have sales for 24 hours and then eventually it kicks back in. Those are annoying things that happen, but we know them and they're very predictable. What's not predictable is planning a huge show that
Right.
has banger inventory. You go live, and all of a sudden, you see people popping in and out and comments like, I can't hear you. And oh, what? I keep getting kicked out. And I don't know what's happening. And I'm literally trying to sell my inventory right now, live as we speak. So if this app is glitching and is unstable, that
Yeah.
directly affects my sales.
Is this growing pains of a new platform though?
Yes.
Yeah, because yeah,
Yeah, but also we've been in it a little longer than I
yeah,
think we should be having certain things when we're talking about stuff like font,
right, right.
button location.
Yeah,
Those kinds of things are petty.
I recently had a problem with Whatnot, and I wanted to talk to someone from customer service. I know you're laughing, and I just got a bot for no matter what I said, a bot was coming back to me with a flow chart response, and
AI generated responses. Here's a link to this
yeah,
article.
you
Hopefully it
know,
helps you.
I am a huge fan of Whatnot, but I think all of these platforms from Amazon to eBay to Whatnot, they need to up their game with customer service because
Because they expect
it
it from
is,
us.
yeah, it's below average at this point across the board, below
That.
average. Yeah,
Mhm. And
and
it's across other things than just reselling. Go to Wendy's,
right.
go to your local hardware store, go to Target. I mean, people are unsatisfied in life, and I think it's really coming back on that. But yes, that's what I'm saying though. The infrastructure, make that a thing at the beginning. You
All
should
right.
always be able to contact a live representative.
So if anybody from Whatnot is listening to us,
Please.
contact us. We'll sit in on a meeting with you. Common Ground Finds and Resell Maven. We'll sit in with you. We'll talk to you. We'll help
And
you.
not opposed to information, and they do things like they'll have lives with certain people, like Craig and other members of the Whatnot ownership community, and they'll talk to us a little bit. They don't take a whole lot of feedback in those calls. Sometimes they do, sometimes they'll acknowledge it. I'm not naive to how a big business runs, though. That's the thing. I don't want people to think like, oh, well, that's so unrealistic of you to expect some of those things. Like, I'm not naive. I get it. I've been a human, a working adult for a long time. I understand how businesses run, but this is basic stuff. If you expect us to message our customers and buyers back when they have concerns in an appropriate way and not a robotic AI, do you want me to AI generate my responses to buyers when they have an issue? I mean, no, that's not the expectation for the people using your software. So why would you, as the creator, want that as a priority or as a way of communicating? So no, I don't like that. I think eBay has done some incredible things over the last 5 to 10 years where now I can click, have an agent call me, and within 35 seconds, my phone is ringing. And I don't expect that from Whatnot. I understand that's not the same. But just as a reminder, we might sell books and we might have our $500 to $1,000 shows and things like that. And we're bringing revenue into the platform. But there are people that are selling hundreds of thousands of dollars in a given show. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whatnot is making a very large income off of running this app. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is maintain the app, continue to develop it in an appropriate way, and then maintain it and run customer service. That's actually literally their entire business model. So if you can't maintain the growth of your online selling platform.
Do you think it's growing too quickly? Because, you just talking about books from 2 years ago to now is huge.
Yeah. So I think it's growing quickly on the seller end.
Okay.
And I know buyers are coming every day. I will always say that. I don't want people to think that that's not happening. Right. But they target a very specific type of seller and they target very few buyers. It is the responsibility of people who sell on the platform to promote the platform. So no, I don't think they're growing fast enough. Yeah. They might be growing perfectly at the pace that they need to grow at, clearly given their ability to even develop these as they get bigger. Like, I get it. You might need to buy new servers and have new things, and maybe you need to build a data center. I don't know what you need to do, but I do know that you're making a good chunk of money and you need to make sure that you're allocating it properly. Just like me as a seller on my platform and as a reseller and a business owner, I have to make sure that the money that's coming into me is being allocated to the appropriate area so that my business can either stay where it's at or grow. And so I don't know what their priority is. So if they're trying to stay where they're at, then maybe that's why they're doing what they're doing. But if they really want to grow, then they've got to take that money and put it other places than their pockets.
So, like international shipping.
Yeah. A lot of things. Have one singular area where people can actually give honest feedback. I don't know. Do one live show where one of your board members goes live and goes, tell me what you need to hear. And if you're in here, that means you care. Tell me what's important to you. And if I hear 1,700 people tell me this one thing needs to change, then that is now the top priority of my company.
100%. Yeah.
So
we'll get them. We'll get to them. Some
I love it though. Like, don't disguise my criticism as not love, because I literally love it.
Criticism is love.
It is. Yeah. It's out of the fact that this I know is my business model. This is, if Whatnot disappeared, I would be, I need to figure out some other avenues. I'd have to really pivot. So no criticism in the sense of like, it's not good. I highly recommend it for sellers.
So yeah. I mean, every platform has issues. We could do a 5-hour show on that.
Every business. Yeah. I mean, it's that's the life we live. It's America.
So where do you see you, Resell Maven? Where do you see you in a year or two in your business? Because I know you're thinking about bigger, better, and greater things too. Just as I do. So where do you see yourself? Where's your next level? What's your next jump?
So my next level is actually a little unglamorous because it's where I'm at in my business, but I think it's probably the realest answer I can give to maybe somebody who might be in similar shoes as me, whether you are full-time or part-time, or you are whatever it might be. If you're at a level where you feel like, okay, I figured it out, I know how it works, I have inventory, I have a means to sell, I have, what is my next step? What do I need to do after I've got it? Right. where I'm at, my big one, and I think that this is really important and something I'm going to start talking about on my channel. So originally I started in finance, and this is where I have now gone into, which is I need to start blending 3 years ago, Amanda, mentality with money and investing and
Okay.
properly doing things financially with current Amanda. And I really need to meet there. So one of the stages I'm at is, I think I mentioned this to you, is I need to make about $1,000 extra a month. That's kind of my next step. So if I can start getting to a point where over the next, I would say to the end of the year, I work really well on years. I think most people do. But it's also quarter thing. You've got holidays, right? So there's a reason for it. But by the end of this year, if I could be at a point where I am earning about $500 to $1,000 more consistently every month, then I'm going to be in a position where I could start feeling comfortable really like scaling up. So I can't scale any more than I'm at. I'm at my limit on scaling. I cannot source any more than I'm sourcing. I can't sell any more than I'm selling. It's me. And then my boyfriend helps me do some stuff on the side, but it's mostly a one-man operation.
Doesn't
So
he
I'm
know
at
he
my
has
limit.
to quit his job and come in full time here? Does he not realize that yet?
Well, so he's an Uber driver, so he kind of works for himself,
Okay.
and he does that extremely part time. So it's not like he's maxing out, 40 hours. We're both very non-traditional workers, but he helps me do the main thing I need help with, which is Monday morning shipping, which we've
Right.
actually been doing on Sundays lately. So we're not doing that today, but is Monday morning shipping. It's after the weekend, the big sales, get all that out the
Yeah.
door.
Would hiring a shipper be a detriment to your business right now?
Right now,
To free
yes.
you up to do other things?
It's a weird toss up. So because if I could, God could send me the perfect shipper who's perfectly trained right now, and I could put them into place and say, this is your job, and they knew exactly what they were doing, that would be great. But that's not the realistic world of hiring. So I've had employees in the past, and so I've been down this road. So I'm already familiar with it. It's more of a finance thing. I'm very specific right now on where my money is going, and
Okay.
it's working really well for what I'm doing. So the idea of having to pay someone even a part-time salary or income is just not in my business model right now, because the time and energy I'd have to
Right.
do to put into training somebody to do things the way I pack my books and stuff is not in my list of abilities at the moment. But you asked me where I'll see myself in a year.
Yeah.
In a year from now, realistically, this time next year, I would have somebody who's basically entire job here is just to ship, so that I could be completely hands off, so that my
Love
boyfriend
that.
doesn't have to come
I
in,
love
right?
that for you. Yep.
And
I love
that's
that.
the part that's easy
Yeah.
to delegate in your business.
Yeah, I
Shipping is
do have a
great.
shipper, and
Yeah.
she works about 10 to 15 hours, depending on how busy it is per week.
Yeah.
But she gets all of my shipping done, and I'll tell you this from experience, it's well worth it
Yeah.
because if I'm shipping, I'm not pricing books, I'm not sourcing books, I'm not making money once I start shipping.
It's the only part of your business besides customer service that you do not actually make any money on.
Right.
You cannot generate income while you are physically having
Right.
to ship the items that have already sold. You've already made that money. So I realized that a while ago. I had a shipper. She did some other things as well. She was sourcing a little bit. I've had luck in having good employees. And I used to be able to say, oh, well, it's me. I'm just too anal about it. I want it done a certain way. And I got rid of that. So if you're at that point in your business, the quicker you can get rid of that, the better. I learned that in school. I was a straight A student in college until my senior year. I think at the end of my junior year, I got my first B. I lost my crap. I cried. I did what I did. And then guess what? My senior year was an easy breezy peasy because I'd already gotten a B. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get one person out of the 65 orders you shipped out that week that said, oh, my book kind of arrived damaged. My quality for shipping is so high that the level that even is below where I'm at is still incredible. So I wouldn't be worried about that as much as I used to be. So if you're
Right.
at that stage, go ahead and let that go, because I promise you life's going to get a lot easier. But it's more so that I know what it takes to train somebody. I was a trainer my whole career as a server. I always was the trainer of the restaurants I worked in. So I know how to train. I'm good at it. So it's not about not being a good trainer. It's about just finding somebody who's more dedicated, maybe somebody who's a little bit older. I was getting a lot of younger girls that were coming in, and that's fine. But the phone is very prevalent. Long nails were prevalent, things that were preventative for what was happening in my business. So I need somebody who's like, yeah, I can come in for 3 hours and be completely undistracted and pack 100 things. That's not a problem. So it's more of that
Okay.
for the hiring. But in a year,
Yeah,
yes, that's
we're
cool.
gonna get you there. We're gonna get you there. So, okay, so I'm gonna ask you one last question before I let you go on
Okay.
this. And don't talk to me so much. I want you to talk to the people who are on Whatnot now, or the people who are on the verge and contemplating and they're riding the fence about being on Whatnot. Give them 2 or 3 little hacks, little things that you do, maybe to promote, maybe to gain followers, get more people to bookmark your shows. Talk to those people because I get a lot of those questions in our Paper
Yeah.
Gold group. Um, and I give them all the hacks that I have. And so maybe someone like yourself who's in a different marketplace, but is wildly successful and growing and growing and growing. What sort of things would you advise them on?
So I can address all three of those. Promoting, gaining followers, and getting bookmarks on your show. So I think this is the big tip that I see so many people fail to take advantage of, which is utilizing the thumbnail and the preview video option for your videos. So when you schedule a show, if you are a seller, when you go to schedule your show, your default thumbnail is going to be your profile picture. So for me, it's my face. It's a nice photo of myself that's appealing. And I have that as my default until I am ready to start showcasing the things that are going to be in that show.
Okay.
So either the day of or the day before. And it's only because I go live multiple times a week, as you are now as well. So I'm not always doing it like a week in advance. If this is your first show, you might be able to do this a week in advance, but sometimes it's just the day before. I take a flattering photo of something. I take it away from my profile picture. They are not there to buy me. I am not for sale. I need to show what I'm selling. So the first thing I'll do is take either a photo of my bookshelves, like something behind me. It'll just be a large photo of what I have. Or if I have a small selection of books that day or whatever it might be, I'll put them in a stack and I'll take a photo of that stack of books. So people can see exactly what I'm selling in my show. This is particularly good if you have something really good to sell, like maybe you have something that people really want, put that in your thumbnail, but don't just put a photo of just that. Take a little bit of a step back. Maybe take it away from just one singular book and make it a little more. Like, what else do you have to offer? Then after you do that, that's your thumbnail, record a little video. So maybe it is a small stack of books and just take your camera and go, hey, everybody, these are the books that I'm showing today. I've got some really great deals. Maybe talk a little bit about generally your pricing or how your show runs. So for me, I'll say, I do a lot of bundling on my show. So come in, make any requests. I'll add them to a pile for you. Most of my books are under $4. I do have books lower and higher. We run auctions if more than one person's interested. And I can't wait to see you guys there. Simple, short.
20-second video.
Yeah, mine tend to be like a minute just because of the way that I do mine. But it can be 5 seconds. It can just be like, hey guys, this is what we're showing tonight. Clip.
Right.
Just something that's different. Right. I don't know.
Because it's an interactive platform, let them see.
It immediately gives somebody a way to connect to who's behind the camera. And this does two things. Some people are like, well, but I'm not really confident. I don't really even want to do the live thing. It's not going to be about me. It's about what I'm selling. That's fine. But you're going to have people that will want to support you or not support you because of who you are. So there are people that might hear your voice and go, oh, that person sounds so sweet. I just want to pop in and support them. They sound like they could really use it. And then there's people who are like, oh, she sounds stupid. I don't want to ever see her stuff. That's the reality of it. Okay, let's just be real. So give them a glimpse of who you are, right? So that's my first thing. That is how you're going to get more clicks on your show. So at the end of the show, you can always look back at your past shows and it'll show you how many views you got on that show. So look at that. Don't do that and then do it and then see what the view difference is. How many more people clicked on your show versus didn't click on your show simply because you put something different than a thumbnail. If your profile picture, this is my generic, but if it's a picture of a dog or a sunset, you need to change it. Unless you are selling dogs or sunsets, that is not your picture. Your profile picture can be whatever you want. Change your thumbnail. Your thumbnail can't be a picture of the sunset. It's too generic. It doesn't
Right.
tell anybody anything. I'm never clicking on a profile, a show that has that. That might sound harsh, but just
No,
that's my
it's
big
no.
tip for that.
I tell the same people about their eBay background, their profile. Show what you're selling. Don't show me a B stock photo of something.
Yeah.
Show me what you do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you click on my profile, it's the picture of me, and then my background is just a row of books.
Right.
That's what I sell. And then utilize your bio. So put something in there that's not polarizing, just, hi, my name's Amanda. I sell books, plush, and educational material. I'm usually live on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I do pop-ups throughout the week. Follow me on Instagram at Resell Maven for behind the scenes sneak peeks. Like, that's roughly what my bio says. It's just
Ooh,
information. It's
sneak
just
peeks.
finding another
Okay.
way.
Okay.
So, okay, so that's that. And then for followers, this is going to be a very organic approach. If you want quick, fast followers, then I don't know what platform's going to ever give you that. You got to get that out of your brain. It doesn't happen. You've got to be a part of the community. You need to be interactive. You need to get involved in the app, and you need to do it in a way that's not pushy or aggressive or self-promoting. You're not there to self-promote. You're not going to pop into shows to say, hey, I have a show tonight. Come follow me. That's tacky, and we just don't do that.
Right.
So just don't ever do that.
Yeah.
So
Let
what
your
that means,
inventory do the speaking. That's
let
how
your
I feel.
inventory do the
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah. And let your general aura do the
Sure.
speaking. So like if
Yep.
you aren't a chatty person and this part of whatnot isn't for you, then you don't need to hear what I'm saying. If that's not your goal and you're like, I'm there to utilize the marketplace and I want to do faceless shows where I'm not even talking, I'm not interested in that, but I know that there's a power in the platform and I can bring good quality items, cool. You don't
I
need to
already
worry
know
about
this.
that.
If you and I ever did a show together, we would sell nothing because we'd be talking the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So this is for people who want a following, but they want real followers, not just people who you're pinning up a giveaway
Right.
and they're following you so that they can enter a giveaway. And then in a month, you have 1,000 followers, but 20 actual
Right.
people who are
There's
interested
no,
in what
yeah,
you're
there's
selling.
no foundation on
Right.
that. Yeah.
So this is what I used to do when I was in Disney, because this is where I got my start. I don't have to do it as often, but I still do this. I was doing it this morning, actually. So what I do is this is my simple little hack. When I was in Disney, I would be in Disney shows for two reasons. One, I want to see what's selling. I want to see who's in there. I want to recognize screen names. I want to see what are they buying. Okay, that person always buys Cinderella stuff. Okay, so if I have Cinderella stuff and that person pops in, I need to pull out my Cinderella stuff.
Right.
Hey, so I know that, right? Okay, so I'm learning what sells, and I'm watching sellers. I'm watching what they do. I'm learning what I like and what I don't like. I'm learning how I would run a show if I was to do it, right? So I'm watching and observing and learning and just seeing what's out there. I'm learning my market
Yeah.
because I don't want to come in pricing things at a price that no one would be willing to pay. And I also don't want to come in and just give a great deal and not be making actual money because they're like, oh, well, we're going to buy all of her stuff because it's so cheap, right? You want to meet in the middle. So that's part of it. It's learning. But the second part is this. So you're in a show, right? Now you're watching it, you're absorbing and you're learning, but you're going to start engaging in small ways. So a lot of Disney shows and shows in general will say, all of a sudden, oh, who's your favorite princess? Everyone put their favorite princess in the chat. This is your opportunity. Put your favorite princess. And more so than just Cinderella, put, oh my gosh, I've loved Cinderella since I was 5 years old. I dressed up as Halloween when I was 6. Something, whatever, your little tidbit, right? And then someone else comments something and you find someone that you can respond to. Someone says, oh, I love Aurora, and you go, oh my gosh, Aurora's my second favorite, right? And then you start tagging people with your replies to what they're saying, and you start building a dialogue, okay? Now, this isn't going to happen in one time. You're doing this all the time. So
Over and over again.
find
Yeah.
a couple of sellers who you really like their community and you like being in their show because you like the way they run it and you're learning, right? You're not in someone's show who's doing kind of a crappy job. You want to be where the quality is. And so find your few people and then just every day or so go into their shows. Now, this is how it changes, right? So this is you just naturally marketing. You're going to get some followers just because of that, because people like to follow people who like things they like. Even if they don't know you're a seller or you don't have any shows scheduled,
Right.
they'll people that have never sold anything that have 200 followers. How do they get that? That's how they got it. Okay. There's just them being in the chat. What you do from there is after you've maybe created a little bit of a rapport, or maybe you've never been in the show before, but you just hung out in the show for like 2 hours. And the entire time you were casually in the chat. Maybe you went 30 minutes without saying anything, but for the other hour and a half, you were like, yeah, da, 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 or whatever it was. That's when you say, maybe you have a show that night. This is what I would do. I would do it on the days I had shows. So I'd have a show that night and it would be like 2 hours before my show. And I would be like, I would find the host's name and I would say, Liz, thank you so much for an incredible show. I've got to go get ready for mine, but can't wait to, hang out with you tomorrow or something along those lines. Like, all right, got to go finish prepping for my show, but thanks for keeping me entertained while I was listing.
You're making friends. You're making friends. That's what you're doing.
And you're just saying bye. You're just saying bye to your friends. You're not saying, okay, well, now it's time for my show. Hope to see you guys there in 2 hours. Make sure you're following me if you're not. We don't say stuff like that in the chat. That's off-putting. You're just saying, hey, okay, I'm going to go. And then someone's like, oh, they have a show. And now you have potentially anywhere from 2 to 50 people, depending on how many people are in that show, clicking on your name to see what show is it. And then when they click on your name, they see your show that says, my first Disney show ever, giving out great deals, whatever. And now everyone's bookmarking your show. And now they're going to be in there and you just do that, rinse and repeat. It's a little exhausting, but if you have the emotional capacity to like be engaged like that, it's going to pay off.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, though. You have to do it over and over again. In my world, I call that digging ditches. You just every day you got to dig some ditches to build that foundation.
Yeah.
And
so I did it this morning in a community show. Somebody who I've never seen before. She actually works for Whatnot and she does a community show every Monday morning. I just learned this today.
Yeah.
I pop in, she has almost 200 people on her show and I just start chatting, oh yeah, that's a great point. And I'm genuinely talking because we're talking about Whatnot. And I knew I was talking to you about Whatnot. And I was like, oh, I can talk about Whatnot all day. So we're going to talk about Whatnot in the morning. I'm going to talk about Whatnot with Max in the afternoon. But nonetheless, after I got off of the show, so she rated into somebody, she entered the show and I just went to look. I was like, let me go look to see how many followers I got just from that interaction. There's just 2. Just 2, but 2 people. That adds up, compounding.
30 times a month.
Do that once a day, every day for a month, and you're going to have hundreds of people that have followed you
and bookmark your shows.
Yeah, these are people that are now getting alerted when you go live. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Just because you have 6,000 followers doesn't mean there's going to be 6,000 or even 1,000 people in your show. But that is the potential of 6,000 people that got a push notification when you went live that says, this person is now live. And if they like you, they can now go into your show. So that's why it translates. And then that's the thing with the bookmarking too. So you get the push notification. If you follow, you can change it. Some people don't want push notifications for everyone they follow, but you can get another push notification just for after you've bookmarked a show. So someone might get a notification that I'm live, and then they will also get a notification that the show that they saved is live, right? So that's the book. So, and then with bookmarking, my biggest tip is short and sweet. It's so simple. And so many people leave this on the table. Schedule out your shows. If you go to my profile right now, I only have like 6 shows scheduled. And to me, that's like 0 shows scheduled. Yeah. So I need to go in and put in all of the rest of July and August shows up so that as I'm live, someone just goes into my profile, bookmark,
yeah.
and they just go down.
I have all of July done. I haven't done August yet, but I have all
Try to schedule them at least to the end of the month that you're in at the beginning of the month. That even if it's only 1 show a week, put your 4 shows up there.
Well, I have a feeling that we're going to need a part 2 on this.
Yeah. I feel like we barely talked about anything.
I have a whole bunch of ideas orbiting my brain right now. I see a panel discussion in our future.
Okay.
On this platform. Yeah. So we're going to end it there.
Okay.
I do feel we gave some great content here. There's some great gems in here. I hope you take advantage of. But I want to thank you for your time. I know I'm going to see you soon anyways. And, thank you for reaching out to this audience and giving them all of your history and biography.
Yeah, I love it. I love merging a little bit too, because I don't really dabble in this world. I'm really more that modern fiction type person. So just you can have success in lots of different categories in the book category, whether you're broad or niche. It's a great place to be. It's a great community.
It's a great way to make a living. It really is. No matter what we say, all of our little complaints, selling books. Look at us smiling. We're both smiling.
I know. Yeah, it's fun.
We know what we do.
It's so fun. Yeah.
So have a great day. Thank you for your time. Look for part 2. I know we're going to be talking about a part 2 panel discussion coming up.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for having me again.
Bye bye.
Bye.